All right, everyone. So thanks for attending. This session is pretty much just going to focus on the basics of the program and some of the things that you can do to make it a little bit easier on yourself so you don't feel like you're just tossed in the wild and told to run around. Okay, so first I'm just going to do a little background about myself for those of you that don't know. So just a quick story. Probably about 5 years ago, I was in Yuma, Arizona, and I was just trying to figure things out, right? I didn't have any clue what I wanted to do. Um, I had no job. I had a 7-year-old little girl. I was a single father, so I was just trying to figure things out, right? So I went to voc rehab, and one of the, I pretty much narrowed it down to two fields, right? I was either going to go medical or I was going to go IT, right? So I already had a kind of a genuine interest, but, I decided to go IT. And so I found the LearnKey program, all right? And, for me, it worked out, okay? I kind of I started in November, or actually, I'm sorry, I started in September of 2013, okay? And it took me probably, I want to say 10 months. I didn't have much time. So it took me about 10 months to get through the program and get as many certs as I could. And then, so yeah, there it is, September 13th to July 2014. So I had that much time to get as many certs as I could. All right, so the program, it was a lot different back then. I'll talk a little bit more about the differences between how it was then and how it is now as we go through this orientation. But through my time, I was able to get certified in A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, and then they sprinkled in some Microsoft exams for me as well. So that's a good little mix there in that little time frame. So this is good to know because these are the areas that I can help you out with. And there's a couple more areas that I've kind of gained some knowledge on in the time since I've been working with the company, but these are the ones that I'm certified in. So after I finished the program, I started working for LearnKey, right? So they brought me in. I really didn't have an idea what they wanted me to do. I thought I was just going to be doing tech support, maybe, or something like that. And which I do. If you call tech support, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably get me. But what I mainly do is my primary role is really kind of a student guide and helping you guys prepare because I have that experience. I went through the program. I took a lot of the same courses, maybe not the same versions, but a lot of the same courses that you guys are going to be attempting to pass. So that's really where my real value was. In tech support, I was new, right, coming into the company. But as far as being a student and getting through the program, I was that was where my real value was. All right, so my overall impression of the program, right, like when I first graduated, is definitely not for everyone, right? It's how many of you remember going to boot camp? I remember, like it was yesterday, and it was almost 18 years ago. Wow. Yeah, I still remember it. I'm pretty sure every one of you, no matter which boot camp you went to, I'm not trying to compare them. I was in the Navy, so I went to Navy boot camp. We were folding clothes and learning Navy talk and stuff, right? Obviously a different experience when you compare it to Marine boot camp. But I'm pretty sure all of you kind of identified someone that was at boot camp that they just weren't really cut out for it, right? It just wasn't something that they were able to do. And it's the same thing with this program. Not everyone is cut out for online learning, let alone the stuff that you're going to be learning. If you're talking about, like the Microsoft Office stuff, some of that stuff is real technical, right? But it's nowhere near as difficult to retain as the IT stuff, right? For like the A+ers and the Net Plus students and things like that, it's a totally different world. So what I found is, what kind of got me through it was knowing that IT was one of the fields I wanted to go to, right? That kind of brought me through it. Another thing is time consuming, right? That's the other thing. When I went through the program, I was lucky because I didn't have anything else going on, right? I wasn't, like I said, I didn't have a job. I had a daughter, but she was in school, so she was at school half the day. So I had a lot of time to put into it, and I needed just about every bit of that time because information is difficult, right? So there has to be a genuine interest. If you remember, I mentioned when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, IT was one of the choices that I narrowed it down to, right? Medical, I already had because I was a corpsman. So I figured I was either going to continue my medical education or I was going to move to IT. But it was something that I was already interested in before I came into the program, right? And the reason that that's important is because if you don't have a genuine interest in this stuff, in learning this stuff, right, into figuring out how stuff works and how to fix it, as soon as it gets hard, it's going to be easy to quit because you were never really interested in the first place, right? Someone just told you that you could work from home if you join this program, so you said, let's go, right? Or someone said you can get a stipend for going to, doing online learning, right? As soon as it gets hard, you're going to check out. So that's why I say there has to be a genuine interest because when it gets hard, and it will, I'm here to tell you, right? This stuff isn't easy at all unless you have a background already. So, the more experience you have, the easier it'll be. But the majority of us are just coming into the field. So, right, and that kind of brings me to my next point here. It's going to take a lot of extra effort for you beginners, right? It just boils down to the same concept. If you have a background in this stuff, and some of us do, there's a few students that they've been doing this stuff for 10, 15 years, so it comes easy to them. And then there's other students that are just like me when they came into the program. It was pretty much new. Or actually, I want to take that back. I did have some experience, no official experience, but just kind of playing around with my own computer tech stuff, right? That's the only, and then there's other people that have no experience at all, and those are the ones that it's going to take some extra effort. Sometimes you're going to have to spend time outside of the time that you're already held to for LearnKey, right? If you're a full-time student, you're held to 20 hours a week. But sometimes you're gonna have to put in some extra time, just doing stuff that's outside of doing the online training. So anyway, that's kind of what my experience when I went through the program, and then by the time I got through it, I knew there were a lot of people struggling because if you can't put all this stuff together, there's a good chance that back then when I was going through the program, it was a lot different. Now you have a lot more support than we did when I went through the program. But when I went through the program, if you didn't have like all of this stuff, you probably weren't going to make it. So, okay, so the purpose. What's the purpose of this session right here? Well, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's basically just to give you guys an idea of how to go through the program and to avoid some of the mistakes that I made. All right, so it's about knowing the do's and don'ts of how to be successful as a student. That's basically what it's going to boil down to, right? I'm just going to kind of give you guys an idea of what works and what doesn't when it comes to, not just preparing for the exams, but, just getting through this program as a whole. All right, so part of that is knowing what resources are available to you and where to find them, right? That's probably one of the most important things that you're going to need to know. Because when you have questions, not one person has all the answers, but if you know where to look, that helps a lot. The other part is, right, know who to contact if you have questions and where to go for answers, right? So it's pretty much the same concept. A lot of people, they call into to LearnKey tech support, right? They'll have an issue with Microsoft. And, maybe I'll have an answer to a question about Microsoft, maybe not, right? But if you think about it, if you're having a problem with Microsoft, who should you really be calling, right? There's only so much that I know, and there's only so much that I have access to. It's just natural. You're going through LearnKey's program, and you're having a problem with G-Metrics, so you're like, oh, well, I need to call tech support. But no, G-Metrics, they have their own page. So a lot of the problems that you may have with G-Metrics, I may know the answer to because I use G-Metrics, and I may have had the same exact problem, right? And those are the cases where I'm going to know what the fix is. But for the most part, if it's something new, G-Metrics is going to know a lot more than me. So the point is, even if contacting me, I would tell you the same thing. If I couldn't figure it out, then I'd probably point you to G-Metrics. So even though you have to use me as a middleman, you still got to where you need to get to. So it's just about knowing who to contact, right? All right, so by the way, up to this point, are there any questions? I'm checking the chat box for a second, but okay, no worries. We're doing good on time. Okay, so let's start with the do's. I'm just going to kind of, I'll throw some things on the screen sometimes so I can kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. But all right, so do. And this is when we're talking about going into exams. Okay, so the first thing that you want to know is what's expected of you, right? If I were to tell you that you're going to get tested on something tomorrow, the first question that you would ask me is, what are you getting tested on, right? Well, how many of you think that there are students that every student goes into the exam knowing exactly what's expected of them? Anybody? And it's real simple to know. So I'm going to show you real quick. So this is Online Expert. All right. This is Jason here. This is the course. Hopefully most of you are comfortable with Online Expert up to this point. If you're not, then just get with me and I'll give you a brief overview. It's real simple, right? Your pre-assessment, right? Here's your training. You go through the training. You have your labs. You have your post-assessments. Well, so you have these different sessions, right? You have your student workbook. You got the support files and the resources and other stuff, right? But it doesn't tell you what it is that you need to know, right? If you want to know exactly what you're going to get tested on, it's real simple. Just find the objectives, right? And I'll show you an easy way to find them, right? There's a bunch of places that we have them for you, but the easiest way, if you don't know where they are, is look, let's go to Google. Type in, look, I already popped up already because I've done it before. But so what you want to look for is the Certiport ones, right? Because that's coming like straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? So take your exam, make sure you put the objectives in there, and before you even get started going through the training, this is what you should do. You should come through here and find out what it is that you're expected to know, right? Real simple. By the way, that question that I just answered, I was one of those students that went into an exam and had no clue what I was expected to know, and I failed it. It's my first exam, okay? I didn't look at the objectives at all. I just kind of took someone else's word for what was going to be on the exam, and it was a huge mistake. So I know you guys probably can't see this, so I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. But it's real simple, right? And I'm using Word because it's the most universal exam. Just about everyone except for Stephanie starts with Word. So it's real simple, right? Make sure that you have a list of all the stuff that you're expected to know how to do. And then that way you can kind of keep track as you're learning of the stuff that you're picking up on and the stuff that's getting left out. Real simple, right? What I hear is a lot of times, what I heard so many times is, someone will go take an exam and, they'll go through G-Metrics, which is one of our our exam prep softwares, right? So we'll go through G-Metrics, and the good thing about G-Metrics is it is just about exactly what you will see when you sit down and take the actual exam. So it makes you feel comfortable, okay? But what a lot of people will do is, you know, they'll go in and they'll fail the exam and they'll say, well, I didn't know I was supposed to know how to do this, and they told me to do this, and I never did that in G-Metrics. And so what I tell everyone is keep track of what you're learning as you're learning it. That's why you want to start with the objectives before you even start your training. That way you can mark off all the stuff that's being covered, right? By the time you get to the bottom of your sheet, if there's something that wasn't covered, you're going to know exactly what it was. And then you can research it on your own. You know, you can't expect one learning resource to cover everything. You know, you're probably going to pick up a little bit from a bunch of different resources, but you know, no one resource is going to cover every exact detail. So it's up to you to keep track of what it is that you're picking up on and what it is that you're not. So you use the objectives as your checklist before you go to the exam. Before you take your exam, your whole checklist should be marked off. Your whole objective checklist should be marked off. If it's not, you know exactly what it is that you need to check. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by know what's expected of you. Don't expect someone else to tell you. Don't expect me to tell you what you're supposed to know, because my exam is more than likely is going to be different than yours. Will there be some of the questions that we can relate to that are the same? Sure. Right? There's a lot of questions on just about every exam that I've taken that I know that someone else has seen, but there's also other ones that they haven't. Everyone gets a different exam. So don't take my word for what you're going to see on your exam. Use the objectives to make sure that you cover every area possible so you don't get surprised by anything. All right? So that's my spill on that. This is just the objectives for the word exam, but it's the same concept for everything. For A+, for Net+, Cisco, if you're going to be taking the CASP exam, right? Security practitioner, every exam comes with a set of objectives that you need to know how to do. And so you should go into every exam knowing what's expected of you. All right. Set time aside for study. This is very important. I should have put this in red, but yeah, you know, I mentioned my situation a little earlier, right? My daughter was at school half the day, so I had about 6-7 hours a day of peace and quiet, right? Now, obviously, I know everyone doesn't have that. You know, some of us have kids running around and parent-in-laws, right? Mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, and all kind of stuff that can get in the way of studying. But especially for anyone like me that's just getting into this field at the time, yeah, you're gonna need time. You have to set it aside, and you're gonna have to kind of stick to it. Make sure you put the energy into it, because this stuff can get overwhelming if you don't put enough energy into it. It's not just about learning these concepts and being able to regurgitate the information, right? On these exams, you're going to be expected to know how to do stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind, right? Here we go again with the resources, right? Just know what resources are available to you, and seek out others if necessary. And what I mean by that is we have a resource, hopefully all of you know about it. It's the student forum. If you don't, actually, let me put the link in the chat box right now. There you go. So let me show you the forum for anyone that hasn't seen it. It's basically, it's a central location for where all the additional information is. So this isn't it. There we go. Okay, so there's a lot of good information in here. There's a lot of good resources. I'm going to show this a little bit, kind of give you guys an overview of this towards the end of the session, just to give you an idea of what's here. I don't want to get into it now because it's just going to kill time. But this is one of the resources that we have for you, where you can pull a bunch of extra information outside of what's provided to you, you know, as far as the books and the online resources go, right? So that's just one of the places. And then when it comes to seeking out others, if you can't find something that's working, then, by all means, use Google. That's what I do. Okay. And then, know who to contact for help. So and what I just mean by that is, if you're working on A+ or Net Plus, right? Those are the times when you want to contact me. If you're working on the Microsoft courses, those are the times when you want to contact Grace, right? If it's something outside of what me and Grace know, that's when you want to attend one of Jason's sessions, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about his sessions a little bit later. But okay, and then the other thing is attend a group session if you can, right? A lot of the drools that get dropped are dropped in those sessions, right? Just about all of the students that attend these group sessions have taken, have attempted, have already studied for the same exams that you guys are going to be studying for. So a lot of the information about, which resources they use, what was helpful, what wasn't, what type of tricks were thrown at them on the exam, all that type of stuff is discussed in these group sessions. So I know not everyone can attend these. A lot of people have jobs and other things that they do outside of, studying for this stuff. But if you can attend one here and there, you should definitely attend one and see what's going on. If you can't get something from someone else, maybe you can help someone else. So a lot of good information gets passed in those groups, information and resources and stuff that I didn't even know about sometimes. So, okay, so we're going to get to the don'ts now. Don't go into any exam unnecessarily prepared. Okay, I can't stress this enough. It happens on a daily basis, right? I don't want to say it happens on a daily basis, not just with students in our program, but, with students in our program, I still talk to people who, they'll go into the exam and, they'll contact me after they failed an exam. And they'll say, hey, someone said, Susan said I should get in touch with you, right? And I talk to them and I ask them, okay, so what objectives do you need help with? And they don't even know that the objectives exist. And, okay, what resources did you use? And I asked them, did you sign up for the forum? Did you use some of those resources in there? And a lot of students, they don't have any clue. And basically, they just went into the exam unnecessarily prepared because that site that I just showed you, right, the forum, I'm going to show you a little bit later, but there's a ton of information in there, a ton of helpful information in there that is beneficial to anyone that takes advantage of it, right? But if you don't know that it's there, if you don't take the time to seek out resources and see what help you have, well, you're just going to the exam unnecessarily prepared, and you're setting yourself up for failure. If you go into any exam without looking at the objectives, unless this is what you've been doing for the last 20 years, you're setting yourself up for failure. So definitely don't do that, because I failed in an exam and it sucks. I really can't explain it any other way. It's not a good feeling, especially when you put a lot of time into preparing for stuff. So, give yourself the best possible choice to pass this stuff. This one should be in red too, right? Don't fail to meet your hourly obligation for the week, right? So we're all grown. I'm not here to tell anyone how much time to put in. Everyone knows how much time they're supposed to be putting in every week, right? So some of us, we don't need to put in that much time. Some of us need to put in more of that time. So it's kind of up to you to know how much time you need to put in. But when it comes to the hourly obligation that you have with LearnKey, you definitely want to make that, right? If you owe 20, make sure you do 20 a week, because if you don't, they're going to cut your stipend. I can tell you that. I don't know how many of us are dependent on it. I don't know how many of us are just using it as a cherry on top. But if you start to fall short of your hourly obligation, they're going to cut your stipend. So that's why I put this here, because I know some people that it's happened to, and it happened to me on accident. And it wasn't very, at the time, remember, I didn't have a job. So at the time I was depending on that stipend. and basically someone filled out my form wrong, and I had to pay for it. But they fixed it. So anyway, that's the fastest way to get your stipend cut, by the way. So, and here's the second fastest way, right? Don't fail to progress. So what I mean by this is, if you get stuck somewhere, if you generally get stuck somewhere, everywhere, we all understand that A+, it isn't the easiest stuff to learn, right? It just it depends on how much time you're willing to put into it and if you can retain the stuff or not. But that's one of the trainings that you could possibly get stuck on somewhere, right? So, if that does happen, you just move on. But if you fail to progress, and what I'm saying is like blatantly, don't be a student that's like doing session 1 for 2 months, right? If you're stuck on session 1 for 2 months, they're going to cut your stipend, right? They're just going to say, you could be putting it in the hours, but if you're stuck and you're not progressing, they're going to cut your stipend. So I know the majority of us get a stipend, and these are the ways to avoid getting it cut. All right. Now there's a difference between failing to progress and being stuck. If you get stuck, sometimes it just helps to move on. If you've taken an exam like 3 times and you failed it, and sometimes it's good to just move on to something else, so you're not just kind of stuck in the same cycle and then come back to it later, right? So that's the difference between like being stuck and failing to progress. If you're just putting in your weekly hours every week, but you're still on session 1, more than likely, the VA counselor is going to decide that you're not progressing. So, don't freak out if you fail an exam. It happens to just about every one of us. Okay. Now for me, it wasn't my first exam. It was my second. So, I passed the word exam first, and then I took the A+ exam next. That was the structure back then, and so yeah, I failed it, and yeah, it sucked. I mean, I remember I had to drive 2 hours to get to that exam because I couldn't take it in Yuma. So, as you can imagine, it was probably a long drive home, right? Yeah, it was. I mean, there's a number of reasons. There's a lot of stuff that I did wrong going into that exam. I didn't prepare for it the right way at all. So I was doomed going into it, but I didn't know because back then there was no, we didn't interact. There was no student interaction like we have today. So no one kind of gave me an idea of how to study, where to go, things to do, things like that. So I had to kind of seek that information out on my own and find my own way, which I was able to do. So, okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in just a second, Thomas, when we get to resources. Right, here we are, resources. All right, segue. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the resources that some of you may not be aware of yet, but you definitely want to make sure that you take advantage of before the session is over. Okay, so first and foremost, the student forum. I want to just give you guys a quick overview of what that is. Okay, let me pull this back over here. Okay, so this is where we keep a lot of the extra resources that we found. Students that have gone through the program find helpful links and sites and study material, things like that, and then they just kind of recommend it to the other students, right? You guys that are just kind of getting started. So we started this a couple years ago, and now you guys are really the ones that are benefiting from the stuff that we've been putting in here. So I just want to kind of give you a brief overview of what's here. First and foremost, I want to show you the calendar, okay? So we have weekly group sessions every week. We don't have them every day because there's not enough tutors. But we have just about, we have probably at least 3 a week, right? Which is to you guys' benefit. If you want to know when those sessions are, the times, the links, all that stuff is in here under the calendar. So you just come over to the calendar and look here, and we are on this session right here, right? And Jason's session, the senior instructor here at LearnKey, his session will be tomorrow evening, right? He has his own session for all of you. You're all welcome to attend it. He answers all questions. It's more of a free-for-all session, right? This Tuesday session is normally a IT session where we're talking about A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, Cisco, Server, a lot of that IT stuff. We do those on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Mondays, it's Microsoft Monday, and Grace runs that session. And these sessions focus on the Microsoft courses. So Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, those are the topic of discussion in these sessions, all right? So anyway, if you have any questions about when those sessions are, how to attend them, you just come down here and just click on this, and it'll have the link and all that stuff in it, all right? And then the other part that I want to show you guys is some of the extra resources here, right? So Thomas mentioned that there's a veteran student forum on Facebook, right? Well, here's the link to that. So this is another place to kind of to interact with some of the other students that have taken some of the courses that you've taken and passed. Some failed, but it doesn't matter. If someone passes or fails, they still have valuable information if you haven't tried yet. So this is a good place to throw questions out sometimes and see what comes back. All right. So I want to show you our Net Plus section because it's probably our most extensive one. There's a ton of stuff in here, right? Students just come in here and they post helpful stuff when they're taking the exams. And there's courses in here, there's study guides. So let me show you this study guide real quick. For anyone that has Net Plus on their exam, you're definitely going to want to get a copy of this once you get there. Don't jump ahead though, wait till you get to Net Plus. So this is basically, it's a PDF, has all the information that you need. I purchased it from Professor Messer. And so you guys have access to it. And it has just about all the information that you need, minus the troubleshooting. You learn troubleshooting with experience. There's no substitute for that. But when it comes to, like the visuals and definitions and all this stuff, you can't really beat this when it comes to preparing for this exam. So this is just one of the many things that are in here for you guys to benefit from. And, there's so many people that go into the exams and they have no clue that this is here until they've failed the exam twice and now they want to call me. And then I tell them, oh, did you sign up for the form? I'm like, what form? So I don't want to go too deep into it. Just sign up and then you can kind of come in here and explore what's in here for yourself. But just know that this is here. This is probably going to be your #1 resource when it comes to resources outside of Online Expert and some of those other stuff that you guys use. Okay. What's next? Student Resource Center, right? So this is, if you go to LearnKey.com, we have a resource center. I'll just maneuver over there real quick. LearnKey.com. And then for those of you that don't know, we have a veteran services page, right? So just come down here. And this is also another route to the forum. You can click on discussion forums and that'll take you straight to the forums. Okay. So right here, Student Resource Center, this is another place where there's some other, some resources for you guys. You can come down here. We have the newsletters, certification guides, practice labs and exams. This is the area that you want to look at for the A+, Net Plus students, right? There's some labs that Jason created that you guys can practice with, right? And there's also some other ones, some more elaborate ones. They cost a little bit of money, but they are good. They are available. So there's a ton of resources available to you. You just have to you have to seek them out. Okay. What else? TeamViewer. Okay, so TeamViewer, for those of you that don't know, is a resource similar to the one that we're using right now. It's something that allows you to communicate with some of the other students that are using it. So you guys can kind of study together if you choose to. Maybe have a question that someone else may have the answer to. Who knows? But it's a really good piece of equipment because it's or software. Sorry, because it's another way to stay connected in the community, right? We have a community. There's a lot of students, and when I went through this program, I had no clue how many other students were in the program because there was no interaction. There was no forum. There was no place to interact, to talk. There was no group sessions, right? So I wasn't able to benefit from some of the information that a lot of the people that were ahead of me could have given me, right? So that's the benefit of stuff like that. So let me come back to the discussion forum and show you how you can get TeamViewer. Real simple. You just come down here. It's a link right here. You click on TeamViewer, and you can see it lets you collaborate 24/7 with other LearnKey students. Whoever else has TeamViewer, once you add them, they're contacts, right? It's just like any other thing. You add someone on Facebook, you can communicate with them whenever you want. So topic TeamViewer. Come to the top. Where did that all go? What is it? Okay. I'm gonna come back to TeamViewer. I don't know where. Okay. Yeah. I don't know where all the links are, but who knows? Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll come back to TeamViewer because I want to give you guys some time to answer questions. Okay. So you have TeamViewer, the Facebook forum. I showed you how to get their group sessions, right? So I showed you where all the sessions are, and I showed you how to get into each and every one of them. So just make sure you sign up for that for the student forum if you haven't done so yet, because all of this stuff is reachable through here. Okay, and then Google, right? I guarantee you that no one that you talk to knows everything. There's this misconception, like ever since I got A+ certified, everyone thinks I know everything now. I get all kind of random calls about fixing someone's printer. What's wrong with my printer? It's printing red instead of black. What's wrong with it? I don't know. Right? Sometimes I may know, sometimes I don't, right? Jason, he knows a lot more than me. Does Jason know everything? No. But I guarantee you, you can find the answer to anything that you have a question about through Google, right? I think that's something that I mentioned, right? Career services. This is for those of you that reach the stage when you are ready to start looking for employment, right? So once you start getting these certs, I mean, some of us are already working, some of us are just starting, right? But we're all going to get to a point where we want to do something with the certs. So Beth is our job readiness manager, and she kind of helps guide you through that stage, right? With resumes, with job hunting techniques, right? Lets you know where to post your resumes, which sites to join, who's hiring vets. A lot of that information you'll get through the Career Services Center, which is also on LearnKey.com. So let me show that real quick, and then I'll get into a Q&A for anyone that has questions. Oh, it's over here. All right, so come back to LearnKey.com again. Right, career and job readiness. Purchase through the readiness services page. Let's do career and job readiness. Nope, let me go back. Job readiness, Job ready resource center, right? So this is where you want to come once you get to that phase, right? This isn't for you guys because most of you are just starting. So I just want to kind of point that fact out that this is here. This program is not just about getting you certs, it's about helping you get employed once you get the cert. So here's Beth, she's our job ready manager, right? Here's Bo, he's probably some of your veteran service representative, and here's Grace, right here, right? So just wanted to point this out to you. There's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of helpful sites, places to post your resumes for those of you that are ready to do that now. This is a good place to look. All right. Okay. So I pretty much covered just about everything. There are who to know, right? I talked about who to know earlier. So obviously here's me, here are the certs that I can help you out with. Here's my extension, right, and my email. Here's Grace's right here. And here is Beth for those of you that are at that phase, or just if you just want to take it down now, because eventually you're gonna want to know how to contact her. So, all right, okay. So I'm gonna scroll back through here and try to answer whatever questions you have. Well, let me finish with the helpful tips first, and then we'll go to questions. Okay, so first helpful tip: be resourceful. Okay, the most valuable resource is the internet. The reason that I say that is because, like I just said, there's no one person that knows everything, but the internet is the gateway to all information, right? So you're going to get training. You're going to go through Online Expert. You're going to get Jason's training. You're going to get you're going to go through Use Certified. You're going to go through CertMaster. You're going to go through G-Metrics, right? You're going to get a whole bunch of different training. That's all going to give you a little bit, right? Find out the stuff that's lacking or that's missing from what you're supposed to get through the objectives, and use the internet to figure out the rest, okay? Some of the stuff I may know, I may be able to clear up. Some of the stuff Jason may know, some of it he doesn't. Nobody knows everything, so that's why I say that, okay? Be proactive about every exam. And what I mean is just, like it goes back to the objectives, right? Go to the objectives, make sure you know what it is that you're supposed to know before you go into your training even. That way you know that you're learning what it is that you're supposed to be learning before you go into the exam, right? It's the best way to approach each exam. So be proactive, find out what the exam's gonna be like, look on the objectives, it should tell you, right? The exam's gonna be 90 minutes, they're gonna give you up to 90 questions. You're gonna be scored on a scale from, whatever, 375 to 900. I'm just pretty much reciting the A+ objectives. But yeah, know what's going to be expected of you. Know the details of your exam. It makes it a lot easier to feel comfortable when you go into it, as opposed to just testing it out and seeing what happens. All right. Take frequent breaks when you need them. Even though I had all that time to study, I had to take a lot of breaks because I was falling asleep a lot of the time. So you're just sitting there listening to someone talk. You're not going to retain a lot of it, right? I think statistics, show that I think if you just listen to someone talk and you don't do anything else, I think you retain like probably 10% of it or something like that, which sounds about right. So take breaks when you need them. Don't try to study if you don't feel like it, because you're probably not going to retain more of it. You just end up wasting your time. So take breaks when you need them. I had to do it. I definitely recommend it. Talk to others that have taken the exams you were trying to pass. That comes back to attending a group session or two. Sometimes just talking to someone else and seeing what their experience was like can kind of, help you feel a little bit more comfortable going into your exam. Or, a lot of times people like to tell you mistakes to avoid, right? things not to do. So yeah, try to talk to someone that's taking it. Maybe they can give you some insight, right? And identify the resources that speak loudest to your learning style. And what I mean by that is, if you are a reader, read. Find the books, find the ones that are recommended, and read. If you're a hands-on person, then seek out the resources that are going to give you that experience, right? Especially for you A-plussers. I don't recommend you go take that exam if you haven't taken a computer apart before. And the reason I say that, and I'm talking about the 901, is because it's a hardware exam. I'm gonna harken back to the same thing. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna show you the objectives from the A+ exam. But it's a hardware exam, and they want you to be comfortable with the hardware, right? So how could you be comfortable with something that you've never taken a look at or touched or felt or played with? That's stuff that you're probably not going to be comfortable with. So that's why I say that. And there are options. Actually, that's the wrong resource. I'm sorry. I was going to show you guys the objectives. I guess I could have showed you on that too, but it doesn't matter. But anyway, look, here's the A+ objectives, right? And we'll make this a little bit bigger. Here are the objectives right here. It gives you the percentages, right? The number one percentage, if you look here, is hardware, right? So this is an exam where you should probably, if you can get your hands on a computer that you're not afraid to break, get it and break it so you can practice fixing it, right? That's going to make this stuff stick because, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about A+, but this is a perfect example. So, for this exam, it's not enough just knowing this information, right? Like some of the stuff you have to know, some of the stuff you have to be able to do, right? If it says configure something, this is what the objectives are telling you, that you need to be able to configure it. So that's stuff that you can't really retain unless you're doing it. You can watch lectures all day, you can read a book, but, they want you to configure something or to swap something out or to tell you how come this is working or how come this isn't working. That's stuff that you really get from real troubleshooting experience. You don't really pick it up from reading and looking at pictures, unless you have a photographic memory or something. So that's why I come back to that. So if you do learn from lectures and taking notes, then just make sure that's what you're doing. Whatever speaks loudest to your learning style, stick to those resources once you get past Online Expert, and the percentage of what you retain is going to be a lot more higher. Okay. So I said I was going to leave some time for you guys, and I didn't. So I'm going to answer some questions anyway. What questions do you all have for me as far as the program or resources, who to contact?
Yeah, hey Jason, excuse me, Tristan. I was messing around with the geometrics and doing the studying. I got a copy of the objectives for Word 16, 2016. Went through all the objectives. Pretty much are familiar when I see them. I know where to go, and I pretty much know what to do. When I was taking the geometrics in relation to it, it's like I seen words like action. Like they asked us to do something. It was like it said action, and it sort of threw me off, because you see things like insert, enter, whatever, but this says like action, and I was sort of stuck there. And what I realized is that it was a time thing. Now it comes down to a time thing. You know what you have to do, but it's just words that, well, what are they trying to say? That would sort of like throw you off a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's intentional or not. I wouldn't say it's intentional, but